Hey everybody! In today's video, I'm going to do a very fun technique that I actually learned in 4th grade from my favorite teacher ever, Mrs. Thompson. And I was just reminded of this technique on YouTube, so I thought that I would use it to make some fun sort of crayon themed cards today. So to begin with, I have 2 sheets of just regular wax paper. I have a microplane grater. This is my favorite grater. It's made in the USA. I love them. And at first, I'm using an Encaustic block. I bought these in Santa Fe. These are really, really nice Encaustic blocks if you like encaustic art. And I just wanted to see what the difference was between encaustic wax and crayons, because 3 million years ago when I was in 4th grade, I did this technique with crayons. So I thought, let's do it with a high-end art supply and see what happens. So the nice thing about encaustic blocks is they're very firm blocks, and so they grate really well, and you don't have to risk like cutting your hand on the grater. These microplane graters are very, very sharp, so I would encourage you to be super careful. You can also use a regular box grater like you use in the kitchen to grate cheese or whatever. I happen to really like these microplane ones, but do be careful. They are very sharp. So I bought, because these were sort of expensive when I was in Santa Fe the last time, I just bought my Holy Trinity, which is my strategy whenever I buy high-end art supplies. I buy a cyan, I buy a magenta, and I buy a yellow, my Holy Trinity colors, because you can do pretty much everything with those colors. So if you're looking at an art medium that's sort of expensive, I would encourage you to just go that route. Start with those 3 colors because you can mix almost everything else. And so I thought it would be fun to try these for the very first time with this childhood art technique. So what I'm doing on one piece of wax paper is just grating a little bit of each color onto the wax paper. And I don't really know at this point how much I need. I think I could have used less than I ended up grating on here in the beginning, but you will see that the result is super fun. So just experiment with the amount of color that you put down on the wax paper and just get it how you like it. Nothing has to be perfect. You know, perfection is for serial killers. So what you'll want to do is take a second piece of wax paper and put it on top of the first piece. And because I'm going to be using a heat gun and not an iron, which is what we used when I was in 4th grade, and yes, in the 70s, small children were allowed to handle hot irons. That's just how it was. We were tough kids. We ironed stuff when we were 10, the way it was. But I thought it would be fun to do it with a heat gun. Plus, I'm very anti-iron. In my old age, I don't iron clothes. I don't really feel like ironing my crafts. So I will use the heat gun, but if I'm going to use the heat gun and there's going to be moving air, I will need to tape the pieces of wax paper down to my surface. So grab some painter's tape. Remember that wax paper and parchment paper sort of resist adhesive, so use a good strong tape. I love this blue painter's tape for this purpose, and tape all of the corners down. Then I will make sure that I don't have any of my crayons or the wax-filled microplane nearby when I start the heat gun, because I don't want to melt all of that stuff. And it actually melts a lot faster than I thought it was going to. I didn't pre-warm up my heat gun, so you're seeing this in real time. And it really started to melt right away. And I could sort of tap it with my finger and move some of the wax around, which I really, really liked. But this really just takes a couple of seconds to activate all of the encaustic wax between the 2 sheets of wax paper. Now, these 2 sheets of wax paper will stay together. So you're not removing one of these. When I was a kid, these were like faux stained glass ornaments. We would hang them in the windows after we hand cut a little shape out of them. I'm going to die cut them and then put them on a card. So I will remove the tape. The wax itself adheres the two pieces of wax paper together, and that's the portion that I'm going to die cut. So you don't really have to worry about those two pieces separating, because that cooled wax in between will hold them together. And I'm holding it up to the light. You really get the best effect when you hold it up to the light, like the little ornaments that we made when we were kids. But you can sort of see here how the little gaps, you can see through them, you can see light through them. And so what I figured out is it's really best to put these on white cardstock, because that gives you the effect of light shining through without light actually shining through. So definitely put them on white cardstock if you're not making a little sun catcher out of them like fourth grade me was. Next, I wanted to see what the difference was between encaustic wax and crayon. So I'm not actually going to clean this encaustic wax off of the grater. And I started to grate the crayon, but it's so much of a softer medium that it didn't work that great. So, no pun intended. I will use a very inexpensive pencil sharpener to get some of the shavings off these crayons. Now, my favorite crayon color, when I was little, my favorite non-blue was seafoam green. And so a few years ago, I actually went on eBay, and you can buy boxes of single colored crayons on eBay. So I bought a box of 8 seafoam green crayons. And so I use these whenever I'm doing like techniques that involve crayons at my retreats, because I've actually done crayon techniques quite a few times. Now, to use the pencil sharpener effectively, you really need to remove the paper from around the top of the crayon. So when I was moving to this yellow crayon, I discovered that the paper was holding me up a little bit. So take that paper off down like 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 an inch, and then you'll be able to get some better shavings off of there. So I went with sort of a greenish yellow. I don't actually know the color of this crayon that I used after the seafoam green, but I thought that they went well together. And then just for a little pop of contrast, I wanted to add some pink. So you know how I love the complementary colors. I thought this isn't going to be complete until I have a complementary color in here. So I grabbed a little bit of pink, and I will add just a few little pops of this here and there around the little composition. Now I have a little piece of wax stuck in the pencil sharpener. This is sort of the downside of trying to sharpen crayons, is they are so soft. Sometimes a little piece can get stuck in the end of the pencil sharpener. So just take a pin or a needle and clean that out, and you'll get better results when you're sharpening other crayons. But that is enough pink for now. So now I can move on and attempt the same process that I did with the encaustic blocks. So I'll take this second piece of wax paper and put it down on top of the first. Now this one, the little curls of the crayons are sort of 3D, so you kind of have to smash that down just a little bit. And then I will tape down the corners so I don't blow it all over the place. And this tape can be reused endlessly, so don't throw away your little scraps of tape. I just stick them on the side of my ink holder and I use them over and over. Now, once again, this melts really, really fast. My heat gun was already completely cool, and it just starts to melt immediately. And you can see that I had a little bit of the magenta fall into there, so there are some darker spots, and I just love this look. I think these are really pretty. These colors are a lot brighter than the ones that I chose for the encaustic, so I think this is going to be a really cute card. So I'll untape that, and I'll try to show it to you with the light shining through. but you'll see it better in my photographs when it's against white cardstock. It gives you exactly the same effect that you would get holding it up to the light. But again, those little bubbles and voids where the wax isn't, I think are so interesting and add a ton of texture that I really like. So here are the two together. You can see the crayons are kind of a bit more luminous and the encaustic are a bit more opaque. But here are the finished project that I did with these. And if you head over to my blog today, you'll find a lot more information about the dies and the stamps I used with these projects. So thanks for stopping by today, and thanks so much for watching.